Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome back to Chat and Channel Session. Today, on the day that I am uploading this, it is actually my birthday. And so, in honor of my birthday, I wanted to talk about not birth exactly, so don't worry if you are squeamish about that. But my guides and I thought it would be particularly helpful to talk about wounds and belief systems that can affect us from pre-birth, from in utero, and from early childhood development with our mothers and our fathers, and how that can affect us and mirror itself over and over again in our lives until we can look back and pinpoint the root sources of these issues and then remove the focus, the unconscious energy from continuing to go to that place. And I find that it's so helpful when we can see that these are actually common threads within the human experience, because then we can put our energies towards bringing new experiences into our lives rather than reliving the same patterns over and over again due to these unconscious belief systems. So I know that's a lot. Before we continue to dive in, let me introduce myself to those of you who are new and reintroduce myself to those of you who are returning. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Danielle, #damsel at D's Enlightened Edits of damseldesigns.com. That's DAMCL Designs.com, where we work with your soul and your energy to connect the dots of the divine design and help you better understand your spirit and our reality at large so that you are more in your power to change it if you wish as a co-creator. I am a spiritual advisor, psychic medium, quantum Sikhem and shamanic energy healer, as well as life and consciousness coach, energy artist, and so much more. And this is Chat and Channel Session, where my guides, and in some cases some of you, present me with a topic and we do a stream of consciousness channeling about it. As I said, today's topic is inspired by my birthday, but if you have a topic that you would like me to channel on, feel free to get in touch with me and I will add it to my list. If you would like to participate in Chat and Channel Session, provided that you are not driving or operating heavy machinery, of course, I invite you to my YouTube page where we have a live weekly premiere if you would like to take place in the live chat during that. Or you can leave a comment or a question there or on Spotify or any of the other listening platforms that you are using. You can also participate my favorite way, which is by getting out a journal or the notes app on your phone or favorite device and taking some stream of consciousness notes along with me as I channel, in which case many of you report to me that you can tap into your own intuitive insights that are specific to the topic that we are channeling on. If you would like some support with what comes up, you can always visit me on my website, damseldesigns.com, for quantum and Akashic Records reading sessions, inner child healing intensives, and applications to work with further energy healing such as quantum, Sikhem, and shamanic, soul retrievals, life and consciousness coaching, and so much more. With all that being said, let us jump back in to today's topic. I do encourage you, if you are called, to do that stream of consciousness writing this time around, because as we talk about the roots of these wounds, you may find that you will remember some of these events, even if they were in utero for you, and the recognition and awareness can bring immense power back to you by removing all of the energy from remembering that in your unconscious or subconscious and channeling it back to your conscious creations. So as I said, there are several common themes that I have found for those of us who experience some sort of trauma or negative belief system building from the time that we were in utero or in early childhood development. Now, I will say you do not have to be raised with your birth parents for these traumas and things to affect you. If you were adopted or your parents passed away or you were raised with other caregivers, I tend to find that people can pick up these wounds both from in utero and from those that they developed with in early childhood. Now, when I say that, we're not blaming any of these parties that pass these things on. During this, we are simply acknowledging the fact that the events and the belief system building took place so that we can call our power back from that experience. So I'm going to go over several several of the common themes, and you can see how they resonate for you. So the first one that my guides and I wanted to go over is, were you a fix-it baby? So this would mean that one or both of your parents felt, for whatever reason, the reasons were their own, that having a baby would either fix their lives or fix their relationships, or perhaps they wanted someone to love who would love them in a way that they saw as unconditional. So if you were a fix-it baby, and on any level, conscious or unconscious, one or both of your parents felt like having a baby would fix their issues, then you can take on a complex or a belief system about being a fixer. This is something that you most probably picked up on in utero, and you can also develop codependency as a result of this belief system and this impression or this intention that your parents had in bringing you into the world. As I said, this could be a subconscious or unconscious intention on their part, and them not being self-aware of it at the time still could have passed it on to you. I've also seen this take effect in terms of grandparents maybe that pressured the kids to have grandchildren for them, thinking that would fix things. So in any of these events, if there was pressure to have a child, and if having a child was for reasons other than loving and nurturing the child, you could have developed this being a fixer complex. Now, in carrying this belief, as I said, you could be codependent, you could feel overly responsible for others' needs and feelings, you could have difficulty establishing or upholding boundaries with others, or you can find that you are continuously the mediator in your life, friendships, relationships, family, even in your job. There could be an unconscious need or desire or drive within you to fix things, a responsibility, like you feel like you have to be the one to fix things simply because your family members, even prior to your birth, dropped the ball about whatever issues they were maybe getting the cue to fix in their own lives, and instead brought you into the world to help and aid with that. Now, in saying this, almost all of us come into the world and we help not only ourselves but our family lines if we are spiritually inclined. But feeling like this is an obligation can be something entirely different. It could be this drive that sometimes drives us into the ground with the desire to fulfill that role. And of course, if you are doing this for people who are not yet in a belief or position to take responsibility for their own actions, needs, or behavior, no matter how much you do, they'll probably never feel like you fixed it because they are trying to delegate that responsibility or all of their responsibility to you on some unconscious level. So if you are noticing that this is an issue or has been an issue in your life, doing some inner child or inner utero, I suppose, healing and tapping back into that part of you who picked up this belief system in the first place and rearranging those beliefs and that energy so that you can know that by dropping the fixer role, it does not mean that you are dropping the ball. It means that you lived that experience up until you became aware of it, and now you get to decide to live another one. And it doesn't make you irresponsible to drop or distance yourself from these imposed roles of fixer or mediator. Now, that being said, a lot of us, myself included, take on the role of being a healer, and we learn incredible things and how to help ourselves and others because of this unconscious drive or desire. However, once we've learned those things and can come to this point of then being aware the perhaps negative roots of that, we can squash that negative root and bring that energy back into our current experience along with all the tools and lessons that we've learned along the way, and get to decide if we now want to refocus that energy into other areas and arenas of our lives. It does not mean that we have to drop the healing role, But being a fixer is entirely different than being a healer. Being a healer means that you are unafraid to stand in a position with someone who is ready to heal and help facilitate for them. You are not doing it for them, you are there with them. Yes, you may be helping to move around energy and bringing perspective that they wouldn't have otherwise, but they are working with you and they are ready and consenting to being healed or quote unquote fixed so that they can integrate and live with that experience. This is why we need to, as healers, heal those who are ready to invest in this process themselves. Yes, with money, but also with their time and beliefs and energy and commitment in knowing that no one can fix you. You can work with someone to help you learn to fix yourself and help facilitate, but you have to be ready and willing and able to integrate and accept that energy and the changes that come along with it for you and your life. So that's my little PSA for those that are nervous about dropping that fixer belief or that fixer role, thinking that, oh, would that make me not a healer then or not a good person then? You would absolutely still be a good person and a healer if you so choose, but you would be a next level healer who heals people out of respect to yourself and to them. And in a lot of cases, to be honest with you, healing that takes place on the other levels where the people are not ready on the other end to live as healed sometimes bounces back and has other repercussions where it doesn't necessarily work or work for long because the other person wasn't ready or we took on too much responsibility as the healer. So with that being said, it's a good time to actually get into our next belief. Something else that really calls to be healed a great deal of the time is if you were in a womb after a miscarriage or an abortion or health problems of an older sibling, sometimes you can take on a prolonged feeling of sickness or death or pressure. This can be a projection of how you see the world in some instances. Some people who experience the death of an earlier sibling or an earlier pregnancy, known or unknown to them, can feel this undue pressure to live for themselves and for the former sibling. In some cases, even people who celebrate pregnancies as rainbow babies after the loss of a former baby can put this impression on the new baby of needing them to some degree to live for the other one, for the former sibling, or looking for signs in the new baby that the former baby is okay. Now, this is normal part of grieving, but some people can take it to an extent where the new child feels like they're not enough on some level or feels guilty about the passing or the loss of that former baby or pregnancy. Now, again, parents who are grieving and lose a child by any means, even if it's a choice with abortion, that is a level of grief that is not necessarily understandable by the new child. And it's not an intentional thing in most aspects for the new child to be pressured. However, the new baby, even if you're very wise and reincarnated, if you believe in that, they don't know. We're still developing a new system within our bodies, within our chakras when you come into a new life. And that new child doesn't know that it's not their fault or responsibility. So if they're just picking up on grief or on pressure, a lot of times they will self-assign blame and shame in regards to that. So this is one where you can reparent yourself and maybe make peace with the sibling or siblings that were previous to your birth and make them an offering and really say goodbye to them and apologize that they didn't get to experience life the way that you do, but that you have to let them go now. Whether or not the parents are ready to let them go, you can choose to let them go in peace and love and respect if you believe that they will still be your sibling on the other side. But this can be helpful for those who have carried that imprint. If you are someone who also struggles with mental health issues and a fascination with death or a predisposition to darker thoughts about death, this can sometimes be be because the mother was not given the proper resources to grieve or to heal. And some of those, I'm sorry if this sounds horrible, death imprints were still within the womb and got passed down to the new pregnancy or the new child. And I have seen this actually happen a lot, even if they didn't know on a conscious level until they were grown that there were losses of siblings prior to them. In older families, actually, when a child was lost, if they were lost early in life, which life to about age 2 was quite treacherous for babies 100 years ago or more, sometimes parents would even rename the new sibling with the previous one's name, and they would not find out until later. So that could be a whole nother can of worms to heal, because that would be another aspect where that new child felt pressure to live up to the former sibling, or to make sure that they were always keeping themselves safe so that their parents would not have to mourn them as well. So it's just a lot of undue pressure in my experience, and that can translate later into life in terms of being scared of taking risks or living for themselves. This actually brings up our next fear that comes up. Now, this one is not only for in utero, it can also be for early childhood. So if you were taught to fear, or that everything was an attack, or if you grew up in a particularly combative environment, or with parents who were really, really fearful of the world, or you as a child being hurt, you can easily allow an attack and victimhood wound and pattern to be instilled on you. Now, this can also speak to if you were attacked by abusive parents, if they seem to attack your very being or blame you for things that weren't your fault, you can also develop this same type of pattern where unconsciously you seem to always being attacked in an unfair way. You can see yourself as a victim on an unconscious level, of course, and if you are spiritually inclined, you can also take on this habit and this pattern of allowing a lot of psychic attack. Now, this can also happen if you have an in utero wound or early childhood development wound where there was a lot of emotional enmeshment, or what can be more harshly called emotional incest. And if there were boundaries that were not respected, or if when people got angry, they broke down boundaries or broke open doors, or, just intruded upon your space. Any of these things tend to yield the same pattern, which is that you can easily allow attack, victimhood, energy attack, physical attacks, emotional attacks, you name it. This can open you up to this wound and this kind of, the way I've seen it as an energy healer, rip and tear in your auric field that can allow a lot of darker energies in. It can predispose you and give you an unconscious bias to believe that you are always going to be attacked, that there's nothing you can do. If you are more spiritually inclined, this may, as I said, open the door to more psychic attack. Now, this can happen with beings if you believe in beings or darker energies. Some people believe in demons or negative thought forms, but this can also happen with the thoughts of other people around us, especially if we are empathic and easily pick up on other people's energies. We can perceive and allow their energy in as an attack because we never grew up used to anything else on some level. And even if you didn't grow up with an abusive parent, if you grew up with a very fearful parent who was always teaching you to anticipate attack, you can be constantly on an unconscious level telling the universe, oh, I have to protect myself. I have to protect myself. And the more you feel you have to protect yourself, the more that you actually tell and program your universal reality experience, okay, they want to protect themselves. Well, we must need to facilitate things for them to protect themselves from. And this could actually make you a beacon for more darker energies or dark thought forms or attack and abuse oriented people to involve themselves in your life and reality experience. Now, please don't feel too called out if you're noticing that one or all of these habits are you, especially as a spiritual person who wants to respect energy and put up wards or energy boundaries. Listen, I've done all that. that. I recommend quite a number of those things to my clients in certain circumstances because this was most certainly me on many levels for a very long time, pretty much my whole life, to be honest with you, as I always strive to be. But a very good friend and fellow healer, Marcus at Starseed Light Codes, has continuously and very patiently reminded me as I was going through energy clearance and certain attacks and my personal wounding and patterns, what I just told you, that the more you tell yourself and tell the universe that you have to protect, the more the universe will provide for you to protect yourself from, because the universe wants to provide, but mostly responds to your energy and your unconscious energy at that. So not to say drop all your protections unless you're called to, but knowing the roots of where they come from and why can be really essential and helpful so that you can take stock and power in your role in allowing such energies into your life and field or not. And I know this can build a little bit of discord and disharmony from those who are still in that victim mode and say, but I'm not calling this to be in my experience. Maybe not, and the other energies are responsible if they are intruding upon you, but you are only responsible for yourself. And if you can find the part of you that is allowing such things or being a magnet for such things and just work on turning that around rather than constantly externalizing and trying to fight off the demons or the devil or dark energy or whatever it is, for you, no judgment. I've been a mix of all of those things at some points in my life. Whatever it is for you, sometimes it does take the energy clearing and the externalization, but I always strive to couple that in my energy clearing work and healing work for myself and with clients all over the world with figuring out the root of the magnetization of why that thing is there in the first place, so that you can turn that around as well. Because what happens is if you don't do that and also take stock of why you've allowed or attracted that relationship or that experience to you, you may clear that particular energy from your life for a while, but if the magnet's still there, there's always the potential for something potentially worse to come back in its place. So I like to work on those in combination. And there can be enmeshment with darker energies as well. I know this is a little bit off topic from in utero energies, but there can be enmeshment with energies that you have around in your field, whether that's a thought form. Sometimes it's actually a former sibling energy. I've cleared that with clients as well. If you have another energy floating around your field because some of your in utero or early childhood development belief systems have allowed you to have these quantum entanglements and not uphold boundaries, sometimes that other energy doesn't want to be there anymore either. Actually, Marcus's husband, the wonderful Walter Boyd, who is also an energy healer and astrologer and energy artist and so many other things, wonderful, wonderful men that I highly love and value as friends and fellow energy workers. But I was having a conversation with him and he inspired me with his work as well in terms of remembering that the other energy, no matter how dark or negative we perceive them to be, does not always want to be there. Sometimes they serve a purpose of survival or reminding us of survival or keeping us, vibrating on a certain lesson for a certain period of time. And then they want to be done too. So the sooner that we can take stock of our beliefs and our attractants and our woundings and our magnets or our pendulums or whatever you want to call it based on any modality that you've studied, and understand this and respect ourselves and any energies in our field, dark or not, the sooner that we can truly clear ourselves and heal and have a faster experience in terms of clearing as well. This idea can also help us clear the cords that we may have with our parents or living people as well from these belief systems that we developed in early childhood. Having compassion that the other party doesn't necessarily want to continually teach us this harsh harsh lesson or a harsh belief system anymore either, but somebody has to be ready and willing and able to step out of that unconscious belief, recognize it with awareness for what it is, and change the pattern and change and move the energy in another direction. Now, if you've experienced really harsh things and abuses or abandonment with your family and you don't want to or aren't ready or able to forgive them, that's fine. You absolutely don't have to in order to move forward. You can clear a cord by forgiving yourself and apologizing to yourself for experiencing or entering into or continuing or perpetuating such beliefs and agreements in the first place. Because while they do teach us things and play a role in our development, once we get access to tools and recognitions and perceptions like this, we can, as I said, step out of that negative projection cycle, because things, especially from in utero and from our early childhood, tend to carry on as a projection in some form. Of course, in my experience, this tends to be the most intense and difficult to clear with the people that you experienced it with, such as your parents or caregivers. But it can mirror itself in our later love relationships, in our work relationships, in our relationship to the universe itself, and how we believe the universe will teach us. I know for me, I've had to go on a process of disentangling seeing the universe as my parent or seeing deities as my parent, because I was projecting negative beliefs about my parents and how they hurt me onto how I unconsciously believed deity or the universe at large would hurt me or not provide for me based on how my parents hurt me or broke promises to me. So this may be you. There's actually a previous chat and channel session geared to this as well. So if you want to look back, that one is on the playlist on my YouTube channel with the backlog of chat and channels from before I started uploading them to various platforms and listening stations, such as wherever you're listening to this. So if you're looking for that one, check out Your Secret Relationship with the Universe and Goddess Source Deity chat and channel session, originally from August of 2022. On that chat and channel session playlist on my YouTube channel, you'll also find older sessions geared towards narcissistic abuse and things that may help you if you find yourself in that camp where you were abused by your caretakers. Now remember, abuse is a subjective term. This doesn't have to be physical abuse or what is standardly thought of as abuse. This can be emotional abuse as well. And for others of you, I am also getting the nod to encourage you to listen to a chat and channel entitled The Power of No and how it opens you up to yes in life and manifesting. That's another one that may help you, especially if you grew up without boundaries and finding it difficult to say no in life and are interested in how that can help you in your manifesting abilities and turning your life into something that you want, need, and prefer. I also want to say that thanks to my friend Shlomo Friedman, who also has a channel on YouTube about manifesting and reality transferring and so many wonderful things, and his own mission to change the world as well. I have been studying in a class with a teacher called William Whitecloud, who is the author of The Magician's Way. And in his work with consciousness, he talks about how from 0 to age 2, we are very invested in the mother showing us our heart and honoring, nurturing and our heart. And from around 3 to 6, I believe, in his teachings, we are there to experience our Father showing us the world and showing us our place and validating our place within the world. I have also personally done a lot of work and study around the fact that up until about 6 months of age, it's very difficult for a baby to distinguish itself from its mother. So if you don't resonate with taking on these beliefs in utero, you may have picked these beliefs up until around 6 months. So I encourage you to do some meditation work in determining any memories that can come through to you from either in utero or up to 6 months, and then especially up to age 2, and seeing how that may link to mother wounds for you. And beyond that, up until around age 6, how things can link to father wounds for you. Now, this would apply if your father was there or not. These could be beliefs or treatments or words or events that were said or done to you by these parents, or it could be the absence of these parents. If you were raised by other people and other caretakers, I would look towards any beliefs that came to you from these areas if the caretaker was masculine or feminine, and also add on to that, in most cases, some form of rejection wound or abandonment wound if our parents weren't around. Or if they were around, but they were working and we didn't get to be nurtured by them or raised by them. Now, especially if you have a mother who has any sort of toxic traits or personality disorder issues, I would focus on that period from in utero, especially up to around 6-7 months, because this is the key time when we are programmed with their belief systems, not yet being able to fully distinguish ourselves from our mother's energy. Now, even though baby souls come in with an energy and soul of their own, and I've communicated with them in and outside of utero, and they do have their own essence, our psyche, our mind, our programmable mind is still trying to tune itself to the mother and picking up on things. This is why they become unconscious. This could even go as far as how your body chooses to develop. And I have experienced that if you were born to or raised with a mother who was very overloaded or had a lot of difficult beliefs or difficult times in life, especially around the time that she was pregnant and you were born, or didn't clear issues of her own before she was pregnant or before you were born, this can sometimes result in physical issues being developed by the baby as well, in terms of an internalized process within the body of that child that says, well, they're not giving us attention or enough nurturing or kindness in these areas. Maybe if we have a sickness, that will alert them to care for us in the ways that we need, and then the body develops a response system to become sick in order to be nurtured or respected. It's an attention grabbing move, and this can carry on into childhood, into adulthood, and in most cases it happens on a completely unconscious level. Our bodies develop that as a protection or coping mechanism, and it can take a great deal sometimes to disentangle from that coping mechanism. So this is really why I encourage you to explore those things either on your own, in prayer, stream of consciousness writing, or meditation, or because they can be very heavy topics and very deep topics, I do encourage those of you who are able and interested in to invest in work with a healer like myself who can help tap you into those timelines and different ways to heal them and rearrange the energy from that experience. Please also do see doctors and therapists that are medically accredited if you feel that you need that. Now, lastly, I want to wrap up with something here for those who are maybe pregnant or considering bringing new children into the world and are feeling overloaded, or for those who are parents and feel like they may have passed some things on unconsciously or unintentionally. There is a process that you can do. There is no too late involved here. You can do this regardless of what age your children are, and in my experience, it can still be effective. So this is simply to call the energy of your child forward energetically, and with your hand over heart, really apologize to them, to their energy. This is something that you can do out loud to the child if you feel like they will be receptive of it. If not, there's no need to overwhelm them or involve them on a conscious level, because most of these things are unconscious anyway. And if you do it with love, you have the ability to send them these messages with love and respect and allow their higher self to see whether they consent to receive that and integrate it at this time. So what I would recommend that you do as a pregnant person or as a parent of children of any age, living or on the other side, is picture their energy coming before you. If they passed before they were born and you do not know what they look like, picture as close as you can imagine to their energy and hold your hand over your heart and feel the love that you have for that child or for that pregnancy and for that person, regardless of who they are or who they would have been, and get yourself tapped into that feeling of love, tapped into that feeling of gratitude for who they are and however long they were in your lives, and say, I'm so sorry for anything that I passed on to you unconsciously. I'm so sorry if I passed over any of my negative belief systems or doubts or fears onto you that had nothing to do with you. It was my stuff, and I didn't know how to deal with it then. I didn't realize for the most part that I was passing it on, and I'm so sorry for anything that I passed on to you negatively, consciously or unconsciously, and the ways that it has affected your life or your soul's experience. I ask now that we release each other from those contracted lessons and release any negativity from those beliefs or patterned experiences back up to source, back up to our higher power, and free us both. I love you. I thank you. I'm sorry. I hope you forgive me. And I wish you the best going forward in your experience, free from any energy that comes from me. I hope you will accept this apology and this energy clearance along with my love and my gratitude for you, however you choose to receive, accept, and integrate that. Please know I never meant to hurt you, and I'm ready to respect the soul that you are now to the best of my abilities. I love you. I thank you. And so it is. And that's personally the prayer that I would recommend to use. You may want to imagine a cord from you to them that was also linking you both to these negative ideas and beliefs. And imagine that lifting up off of both of your hearts or souls or other chakra areas of your body, wherever you see it. Before saying "and so it is," if you like, you can add any other sentiments or specific or non-specific things that you feel drawn to apologize for. This is particularly helpful if the person is pregnant and they notice that they've had some darker thoughts of their own that they haven't been able to deal with, or if they notice that, yeah, maybe on some level they did get pregnant as a fix-it move, which is not judgment upon anyone who does that, by the way, but it can wreak havoc on the soul of that child. And so if and when I can, I like to pass on this information to people who are ready. Please do not send this information to pregnant people who are already overloaded, that are not ready to hear it. But to those who are ready to hear it and are invested in spiritual and mindfulness and mental health work, it may be helpful. Please ask. If this is not for you directly and you are wanting to send it to someone, ask them before just doing so. It's a more respectful way of engaging and checking where they are in terms of their readiness and mental health. Ask if it's something that they would be prepared to listen to, and if not, that's okay too. As I said, it is never too late, in my experience, to apologize or heal these things or release bonds or bounds from these limited beliefs and experiences. When we disengage from them at a later time in life, even though it's hard to hear, it does always seem to be for a purpose of learning things from that way of being. Granted, these are not the easy ways to learn, so the sooner that we can clear these things up, the better, but everyone has their own journey with this and their own priorities order for their soul. Now, if you like and you are not pregnant, if you are not the parent, if you don't have children to apologize for, you can also reverse the process and imagine your parent saying these things to you, or step in that role for yourself and imagine yourself going back in time and holding yourself as an infant or speaking into the womb that you were in from this point of view now, where you are older, where you are wiser, where you have access to these tools and perceptions and informations, and you can apologize to yourself for experiencing those things and remind those earlier parts of you that they no longer need to carry these wounds and negative belief systems on. As I said, these things can take a lot of energy, so if you are ready to invest in help in doing this type of healing and so much more, you will find inner child energy healing intensives available on my website, and for any energy healing beyond that, you can use the contact form that is linked on my website or in the description to contact me about setting up a customized quantum Sekhem or shamanic energy healing or life and consciousness coaching package for you to work with your soul's needs at this time and your goals going forward in helping you make the most of your divine design. With that, I am going to begin to close this session for today, beautiful soul. I am sure that this has brought up a lot of emotions and perhaps insights or questions for you. So I encourage you to sit with those and continue some sort of journaling process if you like and feel called, and or bookmark and come back to this when you are ready to do so. Chat and channel sessions, for the most part, are all timeless topics. So you can listen to any of these things when you are called and ready to deep dive on those topics. I hope that you will be, if you are not already, a follower or subscriber of Chat and Channel Session. If you search hashtag chat and channel on almost all listening platforms at this time, you will be able to find and tune in. And as I said, the most backlog of Chat and Channel Sessions currently is on my YouTube channel at Dee's Enlightened Edits, but everything that is newer is uploading to Audible, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Google, and if you are listening on Spotify, there is an additional way to become a paid low-cost monthly subscriber for additional content, meditations, or channelings per month. If you would like to support Chat and Channel beyond that and my channelings and my free and public works beyond that, you can also make all amounts appreciated energy exchange or supportive donations through paypal.me/DSEnlightenedEdits. I would be very grateful for those of you who would like to support my work in that capacity, or who are ready and called and able to work with me personally. If you would like a session before diving in on energy healing, as I said, those are also available through Quantum and Akashic Records and mini readings and so much more that you will find on my website, Damsel Designs. That's DAMCLdesigns.com. And you can always follow me on Instagram at DSEnlightenedEdits for spiritual inspiration on the daily. With that, I'm going to go enjoy the rest of my birthday. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to the ways that you use this information to heal and rise and make the most of your life. Be blessed with love, light, and light codes. Love, Danielle. Hashtag Damsel at Dee's Enlightened Edits of DamselDesigns.com.